If you pay attention to Honey Badger Radio, you will realize how right-wing it is. Honey Badger Radio is toxic and harmful to men, that is how bad it is. For all the good content that Alison and Karen has done in the past, it doesn't make up for the current right-wing crap they pump out. It doesn't make up for the fact they endorse right-wing misandrists, and they bring on extreme hard-right red-pill dating coaches onto their channel and promote them. I will now reply to a quick hangout Honey Badger Radio did with an alternative right misandrist called Lorraine Deanna. They have done more than one video with her, and seem to be on very good terms with this woman.
Hi.
Hey.
Wait, what's that? We can maybe start with the wave, like, dude, and then you have to go that. Okay, that was fine by California standards. All right, so I'm here with Deanna Lorraine. She was a guest on the Fireside Chat a couple weeks back, and I'm just found that you were randomly at the ICMI. Like, I was really surprised by that. So I guess the first thing I want to ask is, what are you doing here?
Well, why wouldn't I be here? I guess that's the other question. I write about men's issues every day. I talk about men's issues every day on my podcast and in my book, and I constantly am concerned about these very issues that are concerning men at this conference. So the real question is, why wouldn't I be here?
That is a good question.
Wouldn't that be the right fit for me?
But
I want to be immersed in it all weekend.
Yeah.
You know, just slathered in men's issues. No. No, but I think it's great to actually meet more of the leaders in this movement and connect with them and connect with the men that are also really involved in this movement.
Yeah,
that's
for
why
sure.
I'm here.
And so, like, okay, so when I talked to you back, it was like a few weeks back when we had you on the show, you weren't planning on coming. Like,
no, I thought it was too late. I thought the registration was already closed, and I thought it was actually too late for me. And then I realized the registration was still open, and I actually had a really great fan of mine, you know who you are. He actually sponsored my trip. He helped to sponsor my trip, and he said, I really want you to go. I know that you really want to go. And he helped to sponsor it. So it was very, very great that I have a lot of great, encouraging fans and people out there who know what I'm up to and are encouraging it.
So even within the men's rights movement, women who are dating lifestyle advice con artists are given money to turn up at MRA conferences. If even men within the men's rights movement panders to women and bribes them, there is not much hope for men outside the movement. If this woman is a dating coach, she should be able to pay her own way. Men seem to want to give their money to women. Women are rewarded for just existing. Really, the men's rights movement is the last place this sort of pandering should go on in. It shows to me that the men's rights movement is not a serious movement, to be honest. The fact that Honey Badger Radio is promoting this woman is a massive red flag to me.
You got your registration,
got
on
my
a plane,
yeah.
Flew down here.
And I'm happy that it all worked out.
Yeah, that's great. So today was the first day.
Yes.
Your first time ever at a men's conference?
At this men's conference,
Yeah,
yes.
at this one. Okay,
Yes.
so you've been to them before?
I mean, I've been to other kinds of men's conferences that talk about these kinds of issues individually, but this is my very first real men's conference.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And were you going to ask me how it went?
I was going to ask you what you think about your first day.
I loved it. I
Yeah.
think that it's really interesting to, you know, kind of get confirmation. This is what I'm experiencing with the men that I work with every day. This is what I've researched. This is what I talk about. So to actually get this confirmed again and again and again is, to me, really, it just shows you that this is very real, and we need as many people as possible to be on board with this movement.
And what was, like, okay, so you did your first day.
Yes.
Did you have were there any speakers that stood out to you that you liked a lot? And what it was about what they had said that really took your interest?
So I really liked the Scottish guy.
Can't remember his name.
Darren Diogeo, I think was his name. And I really liked him. The reason why I liked him is because when you get in this movement, as you probably know, and with MGTOWs and everything, you can get a lot of cynicism, skepticism, a lot of people that are ready to just say, I will never engage with a woman again, and I'm done with women forever. I mean, I don't even believe in the concept of love or marriage anymore. And for me, being a relationship coach, that's kind of really hard for me to totally get behind, because I am...
Of course this dating coach is not going to get behind that, because she has a conflict of interest. She is here to sell false hope to men. She makes her living taking advantage of needy, desperate, low-status men. Also, Deanna Lorraine should not even be welcome in the men's rights movement, as relationship advice has nothing to do with men's rights. Giving men relationship advice is not going to do anything to fix the countless human rights violations they face. As soon as men's rights activists start talking about dating advice, it is clear that they are not serious and do not really care about their human rights.
As much as I'm a realist, I'm still an optimist, and I still do believe in love, and I still do believe that men and women need each other. And once we decide that men and women don't need each other, which I believe is going against human nature, once we say that we're...
Tradcon morons always make the appeal to nature fallacy. That boring old lazy thought terminating cliche. Men and women need each other is another Tradcon thought terminating cliche too. Also, let's stop pretending that men and women are shunning each other equally, and let's be real about what is going on. Women are discarding men. Women, due to female hypergamy, want higher status men, but women also want social dominance in public life and privileged access to the job market over men too. Women will have the pick of safe office jobs, and jobs with status over men, therefore the pool of acceptable men to women will shrink. This proves that women do not want men for being men. They want men only if they gain benefits from association with them. In the past, before computer databases existed, when it was easier for a man to change his legal name, when it was easier to get a job with less ID and move elsewhere and disappear, the rates of single motherhood and fatherlessness was a lot lower than it is now. It is clear that the vast majority of men did not bail on their families, nor did they want to. The men who did bail on their families were most likely driven away by abusive, nagging wives. In the modern era, we live in a world of computer databases, criminal background checks, and employers checking multiple forms of ID, therefore making it harder for men to bail on their families, go into hiding and find a new job under a false identity. We have child support agencies that will chase men down and force them to provide for families against their will. Yet despite all this, fatherlessness and single motherhood is on the rise, not on the decline. It is clear female choice is the cause of this, not male choice. Once women are able to get resources from a man unwillingly, without having to associate with him, many women will take this option without a second thought. It is clear men want women far more than women want them. Men are willing to pander, bribe and take on burdens to be with women. The more options women are given, the less they choose men. So Deanna Lorraine, please do not insult our intelligence and pretend there is a mutual drifting apart of the sexes, when it is clear that women do not want men. Men and women could be closer than ever, living as mutually supportive partners, pooling their resources, helping each other lift their burdens of each other's shoulders. Instead, women place burdens onto men, use motherhood as an excuse to stop working, then when they get bored boot the fathers out from the family unit.
Just done with each other, then we're headed to societal collapse. And I think that we're also headed towards very sad, soulless, joyless lives when we don't need each other. And
belief in society collapsing if men stop having relationships with women. Clear red flag of extreme right-wing beliefs. YouTuber Black Pigeon Speaks has done videos about that very subject. Also, there is a lot of vague, dishonest language going on here. She is conflating relationships with men pandering to women. Also, I think working as a workhorse slave for a woman who doesn't care about you is pretty soulless and joyless. Again, it is women who are discarding men. If relationships breaking up leads to soulless, joyless lives, Tell that to the women.
And what this guy talked about was he also agrees with me that at the end of the day, yes, we could say men swear off women for life and women should swear off men for life. But what do you get when you're 90 years old and you have nothing to show for it? You just, yeah, you're very successful. You have lots of money in the bank account. And that's great that you have no child, you know, to take care of or something. But is that really what we want? Is that really a life that's worth having? You know, on our tombstone, do we really want to say, you know, here lives Joe from this age to this age, and he was MGTOW for life? And my heart, you know, I believe that the system is rigged right now, and it's so unfair to men, and we need to absolutely fight this discrimination towards men. We need to make the laws more just and equitable for men, 100%. But when we can do...
Tradcons have nothing to offer, so they have to go. If you do not pander to women, and double down on romance, you are going to die alone. It is just an empty threat to men. This is all empty and meaningless, simply because tradcons have no way of making women fall into line. Also, I find it interesting that she is talking about high-status men who hoard resources, not willing to share them with women. I think she just revealed what she is really worried about. Let's be honest here, I highly doubt she gives a fuck if single low-status men without resources are lonely and lead empty lives. I highly doubt she is campaigning for homeless men to get women and relationships.
Do that. I think that there's a way to make marriage work still, and I think there's a way to heal the relationship between men and women, because that's what's so fundamental in our society. And that's what I liked what that guy had to say, because he agreed with me. What is life worth living?
Here is another red flag to spot. Anyone who is a fake men's rights activist will talk about healing the relationship between men and women. I remember when young YouTuber Spinosaurus said the same thing. Soon as he said that, I knew he would not last as a men's rights activist. He later rebranded himself as Alternative Facts, and talks about other issues now. My hunch about him turned out to be correct. Men's rights is not about relationships, it is about human rights. While we can learn a lot about human nature by looking at how relationships between men and women work, but once the conversation turns to the topic of winning women back, that is when the conversation turns into one about pandering to women and submitting to them.
If we're just living on an island separate from men and women.
Sure.
The opposite sex gives us something that we can't possibly have by ourselves.
Okay. And last time we talked on the show, right, I remember I asked you, what is it that traditionalism can offer men? And that was because we were talking about that, right?
Yeah.
And now that, you know, some time has passed, you were mentioning that women need to step up. Like, what would you say are some ways that women can, like, sort of, like, you know, help bridge this gap between men and women? Like, what are have you thought about?
Why the fuck is a so-called men's rights activist asking questions like this? Traditionalism offers men nothing, since it doesn't exist anymore. The pseudo-fake traditionalism that exists now offers men burdens, so it offers them nothing but liabilities. Tradcons have to stop implying there is a mutual gap between the sexes, that both sides have contributed to. Men have pandered to women and have pandered to them hard. This has not earned them the respect of women. Again, women do not want men, women do not respect men, nor do they have much regard for their well-being. Men are not much different, and have no respect for other men, or themselves, nor have much regard for other men and themselves. Women are not going to change, especially since they profit from the current dysfunctional gender dynamics, so it is up to men to change. If men can't change, men are fucked. It is game over.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. I think number one is, well, there's several things. One is women just openly denouncing in public that they denounce feminism. Because what feminism is it claims to speak for all women, as if all women think these ways. And it's just not true. I believe there's a silent majority Maybe it's a minority, maybe it's a majority. I don't know the numbers just yet, but there's a definite huge percentage of women that don't think this way, that don't like feminism. And they need to start now becoming vocal and denouncing that in public, because then more women would have the courage to do so. And right now it's so terrible. It's social suicide, it's career suicide for women to speak out against feminism. But more women have to have the courage to stand up, or else nothing's going to change. You know, women making themselves more valuable to men in the ways that they used to be more valuable. Right now, feminism teaches women to be completely self-centered and selfish. So not only do women still want men to maybe make the majority of the income if they're married or if they're in a relationship, but then they say, you know, you have to come home and share the housework with me, and then you have to, you know, I'm going to come home and throw the baby at you, and you have to, you know, do all the same things that I'm doing and then some, because that's what's equitable. Women are making themselves less valuable. They're saying, I don't care about learning how to cook. I don't care about, you know, just doing those kinds of things that make my husband or my man's life easier, because I'm entitled to just do what I want. I'm a feminist, you know, lady
proud,
balls.
Strong, independent woman.
Strong, independent women.
Don't need no man.
They don't need no man, but they also don't make themselves valuable or having a man need them either.
Yeah.
So I think that women need to learn what it's like to be feminine again, and to be valuable to a man, because all of this, you know, independent stuff that I can do without a man, they're also making themselves have men have no use for them either. Mm-hmm. If women understand what value are they providing to men, are they being generous? Are they being loving?
Notice there is no talk of women paying her share of the bills and getting a job. She is using a false frame of reference to set up a false dichotomy. She is using an extreme example of a lazy parasite housewife who doesn't do any housework, to contrast to a lazy parasite housewife who does a bit of housework, to make the latter look good. It is a false choice that no man should accept. If women are not willing to be equal economic partners to men, women should be shunned and avoided as parasitical burdens. I do not tell men to avoid women. I do not give men romantic advice in general, as the subject does not interest me. Men who claim to care about the human rights of men certainly should avoid codependent relationships where they are getting exploited due to male emotional weakness, if they want to avoid being called out as hypocrites though. If women and right-wing tradcons want to prove the naysayers about male and female relationships wrong, they can do so via their actions. Women can shun marriage contracts, so saving their men from liabilities associated with them. Women can work and contribute to the household. Women can stop discarding men when they lose their jobs. If a woman is not working, she can seek out an unemployed man on her level, instead of looking to leech off a man who is employed. I will hold my breath waiting for female behavior to change. All this waffle about relationships, and how women and men need each other is just empty platitudes that do nothing to address the systematic and institutional disadvantages men face. It does nothing to address female privilege, and the structural underpinnings that shape male and female relationship.
Inspiring, supportive, appreciative, or are they being emasculating, castrating, you know, just so selfish and entitled and narcissistic? There's no need for them then. Why would a man want that? That's a raw deal for a man.
Yeah,
you know?
true. That's
so
true.
We kind of need to get back to a little bit of our roots, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and understand like what makes a woman valuable to a man, what makes a man valuable to a woman. But it can't be all about a woman's needs. Mm-hmm. It's just so self-centered right now. A woman is all about her own needs, but providing nothing, but expecting everything in return.
Yeah. So you're on that topic.
Yeah.
You're a dating coach,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you have helped men. You do mostly the matchmaking. Matchmaking is from taking men and finding women for them.
Yes.
Is that mostly what it is?
I'd say about 70%.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that makes sense. But you've also had women clients
Yes,
as well.
lots of them.
So I asked you before about women clients that you had that don't respond well to this approach, this sort of like red pill relationship stuff, right?
They resist it.
Yeah, and like, what is the basis for their what is the thing that you tend to have to contend with?
So they have this feeling, this mindset that they don't need to change, that it's just the men that are so intimidated by their success, or a man just can't handle a strong woman, a strong, successful, smart woman. They get intimidated, so they feel like it's the man that's somehow wrong. They just haven't found the right man that will appreciate them for their independence, intelligence, and lady balls. But what they don't understand is it's not necessarily the fact that they're smart or successful that's intimidating to men. That's not true. It's the fact that they're acting like an asshole to men, and they're, acting like narcissistic and selfish and rubbing it in men's faces, which isn't attractive to anybody.
Yeah.
There is a reason why I am showing this. I want to point out how Deanna Lorraine contradicts herself later on in this video. She is talking about women being selfish and entitled. I will show her on a blog post raving on about cultural Marxist conspiracies. Just the standard blame shifting that all right-wing conspiracy nuts do. Also, she is sidestepping the chorus you hear as well. Entitled, arrogant, narcissistic women can still find men, and most of them do. If a woman is without a man, most of the time it is because she is being fussy, and is deselecting lower status men. A career woman is not scaring men off, she is shunning most men as being unworthy of her. A high status woman could still live a comfortable lifestyle if she found a lower status man, but most of these women find that thought disgusting, as women have a natural disgust of low status men. A right-wing female is naturally not going to talk about female hypergamy.
And they're not appreciating men. They're not acting like they're valuable. So it's really, they just have this very entitled mindset that the men are the ones who have to change, and they don't have any role in it. And a lot of women, unfortunately, don't stay the course to learn how to be more of a humble, generous, loving, appreciative woman. They just want to be stuck in their own ways, and then they end up 70 years old as a cat lady.
Yeah, sure. And have you turned anyone around on that?
Yes.
Like, did you like red pill them?
Absolutely.
And do you know, like, is there any way of knowing like how they're doing now? Or
Yes.
if this has been helpful.
The women that have followed my principles are in healthy relationships, or they are in marriages, and at the very least, they're changing the way that men interact with them. So it's not like they have to completely change as a person. It's about how they're responding to men, and more about embracing their femininity and not...
Basically, women behaving in ways right-wingers do not approve of is unfeminine. Women behaving in ways they do approve of is true femininity. Females are naturally bitchy, nagging and socially pushy. Look how teenage girls interact with each other and how they can ruthlessly bully and exclude. Feminism is feminine behavior, as it is a political movement that stems from female nature. Feminism is women bullying and abusing men on a macro level. It doesn't take much insight to realize that feminism mirrors the behavior of the typical individual woman. This concept of true femininity is a woman-worshipping tradcon concept that needs to be rejected. Women are not naturally sweet, submissive, nurturing angels that have been brainwashed out of their behavior by cultural Marxists.
Acting like an entitled a-hole, and also hearing that it's not a zero-sum game. When men succeed, women don't have to not succeed, right? This isn't like...
Well, countless women do treat relationships like a zero-sum game. Let's focus on the hours worked gap between married men and married women. As you can clearly see, married men work far more hours than married women. Married women work less hours than single women. Single men work less hours than married men. It is clear that women are putting more burdens onto their husbands. This data I am showing now clearly shows that countless women hold their men in contempt, fail to recognize their humanity and see them as nothing more than workhorse providers. Instead of talking vague bullshit about bringing the sexes together, there needs to be talk about taking concrete actions, and talk about ending female privilege and entitlement forever. The current marriage contract enforces female entitlement. The marriage contract should therefore be abolished completely. If tradcons really believe men and women are natural partners, they should not defend marriage at all. Since it is not needed, let tradcons put their money where their mouth is.
Hear men's side of the story and what they're going through right now, and how feminism has hurt men in many ways. It doesn't mean any less for women's issues. So if they can understand that there's two sides to the story, and understand that men ultimately have very good intentions for women. There's no, they want to care for women, protect and provide, not out of selfishness and greed or wanting to control or oppress women.
Yeah, or
it's out
entitlement
of love.
Or anything like that.
Right, it's out of love and it's out of care.
Yeah.
So when women try to make that seem like it's greed or it's this evil patriarchy, you're stamping out every last piece of goodwill from a man towards women. And I think that's dangerous and insane. I don't know why women would want to do that. But when they finally get the impact of that, then they start to change.
Do you have any, do you still talk to these women after you help them with the
Yeah.
relationships? Do you have any particular story from any particular client? Maybe it's supposed to be confidential, but
Yeah.
you don't have to give any names, but
I know. I'm trying to think.
something that
Yeah, I
stands
mean, like
out?
one recently, I can't give her name, but
Right.
she started with a very feminist attitude,
Mm-hmm.
and then she got pretty humble. Like, I think it's like a piece of humble pie, right? You hear the men's experiences and hear kind of in your face of what you're doing, how feminism is ruining the relationship between men and women, and how it's keeping them from the very things that they want most in life. Most women deep down want love, they want family, and they want a husband.
If women want these things, there is nothing stopping them. You can't brainwash people out of doing things they are inclined to do. The more choices women get, the less they choose men, the less they choose to have kids. Capitalism is the great facilitator of human choice. When women choose to behave in ways right-wingers do not approve of, those right-wingers blame the Marxists. Newsflash: most of the world is capitalist now.
At the end of the day. So what's missing right now from women is a huge amount of respect. They don't respect men anymore. And feminism basically is totally antithetical to respect to men. So once they start realizing that men are actually, it's in their nature to want to care for women, but also they want respect back, and they start
Newsflash: women realize men want to protect and care for them already. That is why feminists try and manipulate the male protective instinct with campaigns like he for she. Telling feminists that men care for them is like telling Nazis that the Jews are loyal to Germany and are no threat. Feminists do not care and will attack men anyway. Nazis do not care and will attack the Jews anyway. Also, most women will take advantage of men if they can. Telling these women that men care for them will not stop women exploiting them. Telling women that men care for them is nothing more than groveling for mercy.
respecting men more, they actually start getting better interactions with men, better relationships with them. So that's just like one of the acronyms of respect. The second one, A, is appreciation. The D stands for desire, keeping yourself desirable, but also showing your desire towards men. The I stands for inspiring men. Don't worry about how intelligent you are. Obviously, men care about intelligence, but it's more about, can you inspire a man to greater heights, to be the best man that he can be? And that's more attractive to a man than showing off your intelligence to him. It's going to be more attractive.
In a competitive way.
In a competitive way, yeah. It's about who cares how intelligent you are, but can you be the kind of woman that just naturally inspires him to greater heights, to be a great man?
Yes, women are naturally wonderful, and naturally inspire men by just existing, unless the evil Marxists brainwash women out of their natural nurturing, inspiring feminine behavior.
Or to pull out the best in him. And a man isn't going to be inspired to be pulled to the best of him by a woman who is just totally self-centered and narcissistic and doesn't offer anything.
Translation: You got to pay some lip service to being on the side of your male slave provider. Being too much of a ball breaker can make him feel depressed and harm his productivity.
Herself.
Okay.
The other A stands for appreciation. The N stands for nurturing. You know, there's nothing wrong with a woman nurturing, and I think that's everything right with it. A lot of women have lost their sort of nurturing touch. The C stands for charm.
Okay.
You know, a lot of women have lost their manners, just basic manners and basic ability to just be kind and ladylike, right?
Okay.
And the E stands for energy. So keeping a positive energy and not being so negative. A lot of women are just so wrapped up in their stress and their worries, and they forget that they need to, you know, also be a positive space for a man, sort of a safe space. When a man comes home from work and is all tired and stressed out, the last thing he wants to do is come home to tons of stressful, negative energy, right? Why would he want to be in a relationship with that? I think that, you know, men want to be with a woman who makes them feel happy, makes them feel better, and makes them feel peaceful, like a peaceful space from a war zone. So that's my acronym for radiance.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. You thought that through. You know, it's funny. Like, I know that comes across as corny.
It does
when they
totally
do
come
that,
across
it's
as corny.
super corny. But the thing is that it's really popular with women, though. Like, they like that stuff.
The acronyms.
Like, yeah, they love that stuff. The
It's a good way to
acronyms.
remember things.
It is. It's a good way to remember things, and then you know you feel like you feel like you're using a certain language that only other women know about.
Exactly.
That have read the book or they've whatever. You know, it's so,
corny,
yeah.
but somehow it works.
Yeah,
And even if a woman just does a few of those things,
Yeah.
they already start getting better relationships with men.
Yeah.
Because the core of it is about giving, and it's about a relationship that's reciprocal. And feminism is just so not about that. It's all about me, me, me.
It's treating the opposite sex like you're in a power struggle with
Utilitarian.
them.
Yes.
So you have to beat them. You
Yeah.
know, like they're your oppressor.
Right.
They're not your complement.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's obvious. So whatever happened to this woman?
Oh, so now she's engaged.
What?
Yeah, she's
Oh,
engaged,
wow.
and it's only been, like, she met her guy, like, 6 months ago, and she's been in this relationship.
The men's rights movement is all about hooking men and women up and getting them married, of course. You know, let's ignore that fact marriage is a slavery contract for heterosexual men. Let's ignore the fact that marriage discriminates against singles, giving married couples an unearned tax break. I would like to point out that the male honey badger interviewing Deanna Lorraine is a right-wing tradcon called Brian Martinez. You have to be pretty shameless to call yourself a men's rights activist and then willingly sign the anti-male slavery contract called marriage. Brian was an MRA even before he got married, so he can't use ignorance as an excuse.
She got engaged like 4 months after meeting him. So
Oh, that's great.
they're engaged now.
Yeah. So you're probably pretty proud of yourself.
Yeah,
You've
totally.
changed some.
I love when I see that. But the biggest win for me is when I take someone who's total feminist and, you know, converts basically into like a woman again in a way. I don't think feminism is very embracing or embodying of just like femininity at all.
Right.
So when I can see that, then I know, okay, these things do work, but it needs to be embraced by more women.
And you work in California, so
I'm in California.
you're
but
not going to run out of
global.
work. There's always going to be more.
Yes.
more
There's
of that to
tons of
do.
women where that goes around. But that means we have a lot of work to do,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we have a lot of work to do. I think the tide is changing right now. I think it's getting more popular. People are finally just saying, like, enough is enough with this radical feminism and leftism. And, you know, they're really starting to see it.
Of course a right-wing nutjob has to sneak in a jab at the leftists. That is another classic red flag of a false MRA. Any derailment to anti-leftism is a sign of an anti-male hijacker.
We have a lot of work to do, but I think it's actually now is as good a time as any to start working on it. There's hope again.
No, I
was
agree
more
with that.
pessimistic like a year ago. Like, God, can this even be fixed?
Yeah,
But I
I was a
think-
bit pessimistic before I came here. To
Yeah.
be honest. I was like, I was starting to get burned out, really, and I actually wanted to explore that in a show, you know.
Yeah.
But after the first day, I'm like, I'm seeing a whole bunch of new faces.
Yeah.
I'm meeting new people. You know, I'm seeing people that I thought they were kind of like on the outskirts of this sort of thing, but now they're at the conference,
Yeah.
like you know,
They're
and
in
I'm
the
like,
thick of
oh,
it.
that's really good. Like I, you know, it gives me, I guess, it's reinvigorating.
Yes.
This is what I should stand. Invigorating.
Invigorating.
But anyway, I just want to thank you. This is totally spontaneous because you happen to be here. So thanks for coming on.
Yes,
and,
anytime.
Yeah, it was
great
good
fireside
to have
chat.
you. Another one. We'll do it again.
Yes.
All right.
Lorraine was behaving herself during her softball interview with Honey Badger Radio. If you really want to know what she thinks of men, you need to look at her blog. I will now look at one of her blog posts. I will post a link in the description so you can see for yourself. Lorraine is hard right, and basically a crypto-fascist. I am not using the label in the loose sense that many leftists use the term. I am using the term correctly. Lorraine is literally a crypto-fascist, because she shares countless beliefs in common with them. Hatred of weak men, worship of traditional women, nuclear family fetish, anti-male pseudoscience, belief in Marxist conspiracies against the West. Her YouTube channel also attracts countless anti-democratic right-wingers, who want to take the vote away from women, and poor men. Her channel attracts these types because she is dog-whistling to other right-wingers.
The war on men and masculinity. Those of you who have been following me know that I've been coaching boys and men for nearly the last decade, and I've personally witnessed a drastic decline in the lives, the motivation and morale of men from all walks of life. I began speaking out about what's happening with boys and men on my YouTube channel and social media, and have gotten severely attacked from women and feminists. Over the last 2 years, I've had thousands of interviews with males of all ages, and my book has dozens of excerpts of these personal experiences strewn throughout it along with tons of undeniable facts, to back up my claims. That rather than being a girl crisis, there is a very real boy crisis in America, a real war on men and masculinity that has been going on behind the scenes since the 1960s. Boys are the ones, severely, falling behind, and are checking out, of relationships with women, of families, and of society by huge proportions. The rise of school shootings, violence and sexual violence are merely the symptoms of a much greater
problem. Even when she is
problem.
pretending to show concern for men, she can't help but go on about how violent and rapey males are. The problem with her narrative is that it is not backed by the facts. Crime in the USA has been on the decline the past 30 years, including violent and sexual crimes. Also, child abuse and neglect is most likely a big factor in males becoming violent. I doubt it is an attack on masculine roles that causes males being violent, whatever an attack on masculinity means. Right-wingers can't show concern for men for its own sake. It is always linked to anxiety around men performing their masculine roles, being good utilities to women.
The epidemic of fatherlessness and the war on masculinity. The solution is not more gun control or sending males to more anti-violence courses and reconstructing toxic masculinity education. The solution is, we need to wake up and take better care of our men. Before it's too late. One of the biggest problems I witness day to day with my male clients is that they are lacking in masculinity and strength. They don't know.
She is not talking about men being under attack, she is talking about masculinity being under attack. She doesn't give a crap about men, she cares about their roles based around masculine performance. Men are treated like shit by society. Right-wing lowlives then attack men for not being masculine enough, and apply hyper-agency onto men. It is just victim blaming. The so-called masculinity of men has nothing to do with the systematic injustices and institutional biases men face. Men are no more or less masculine than they used to be in the past. When the conversation topic is about the plight of men, and how that affects society, but then it shifts to lack of masculinity in men. The implication is clear, it is blaming the state of society on men being weak. Of course a dating coach is going to tell their clients they are not masculine enough. This is an attempt to instill self-loathing and anxiety into young men, so men get sucked into the endless treadmill of self-improvement, so they are more vulnerable to being conned and sold empty and meaningless self-improvement platitudes.
What it means to be a man anymore, they are being raised to be beta males, wussies, and weak, feminized boys.
And they're not appreciating men.
So Lorraine Deanna complains about men not being appreciated or respected, then mocks men for being effeminate beta males. The term beta male when applied to human beings is fascistic anti-male pseudoscience. Anyone who uses the term beta male to disparage other men for being weak or inferior is anti-male, and their beliefs are completely antithetical to men's rights. This crazy right-wing woman was promoted by Honey Badger Radio. It is a disgrace that a so-called men's rights platform promotes anti-male con artists like this. There should be no relationship talk in men's rights spaces in the first place.
Which results in them not knowing how to interact with women or attract them, how to have success.
So what? Who fucking cares? Men are not allowed to flirt aggressively with women. Yet women complain about men being wimps, too scared to make the first move. Only someone who is insane would carry on jumping through female hoops, trying to push past their double binds. If a woman deems someone male a sexual harasser, that man is at great risk of losing his job, and having his life ruined. I think the problems with interactions between the sexes is on women, not men.
Relationships, and they lack ambition and life purpose. And sadly, they are often hooked on porn and video games. Many of them.
Men who like porn and video games are seen as less productive by women. Tradcons should stop worrying about the lifestyle choices of other men. In other words, get fucked tradcunt.
Also feel deep anger toward women. Men and boys feel they cannot stop this attack and castration because they are peer pressured so much by their.
Like you are attacking men now. Disparaging them for being beaters and effeminate, attacking them for their hobbies and habits. You are a shameless hypocrite woman.
Schools, teachers, female peers, media, etc., to shut up and go along with the feminist/girls are oppressed agenda, or else they get attacked, ridiculed, and socially ostracized. I have many examples.
Like you attack men for being beaters. I am sure you ridicule and socially ostracize men like that yourself. It seems like you only want to respect good, productive, hard-working men who you deem as masculine enough. Only those sorts of men are worthy of respect, right?
Of this in my book. Some other facts that help paint this picture. At least 84% of all teachers are females. 1 out of every 3 children are raised without fathers. And 90% of single-parent homes are raised by females. So right out the gate, boys are seriously lacking in male role models and fathers. It's been proven that fathers provide boys structure, discipline, healthy masculinity, and life purpose, among other necessary skills. Boys who grow up without a father are more likely to commit crimes, rape, have mental and behavioral problems, have confused gender identity, most transgenders come from fatherless homes, and many other problems. Many more facts on this in my book. Our culture, and specifically the left and feminists, has been raising women up and empowering women, while demonizing men.
Like how you have been demonizing men, right? Hey leftists, stop demonizing good strong men, just demonize the weak effeminate beta males. We right-wingers only demonize the bad weak men.
Discouraging fatherhood and undermining masculinity. All the rhetoric for years has been women are the future and let's take down the evil patriarchy, and schools from kindergarten through after college have been structured to empower and support women and their learning styles, while disempowering boys. Men are being virtually castrated of their natural masculine instincts and qualities, such as leadership, confidence, protectiveness, ambition. These qualities are being slandered as toxic by promoting the concept of toxic masculinity. The media is an insidious accomplice, with all the #MeToo and #Time'sUp movements. The message is clear: women are the future, women are inherently good and oppressed, and need to be empowered, and males are bad, toxic, and need to put their penises away and check their privilege. But this is not social justice, this has become misandry and lunacy, plain and simple. Yet, this is all part of the Marxist plan to destroy marriage.
Here comes the conspiracy theory dribble. There is a conspiracy to destroy marriage, yet somehow marriage is still subsidized and married couples get tax breaks. I tell you what, the globalist, capitalist, corporate, leftist, feminist, Jewish, shape-shifting LGBT Marxists are sure doing a crappy job of destroying marriage.
Family and masculinity. Destroying those pillars leads to weaker nations. We used to have a culture that encouraged healthy masculinity and appreciated men. Now, with the constant messaging is women don't need men, society doesn't need men, men are toxic and are responsible for all the injustices in the world, along with a huge percentage of boys now growing up without a father figure, it's not a surprise that men are drifting through life now lost and without a purpose. They don't feel needed or even wanted anymore by both women and society, especially white men.
I do not want to be wanted or needed by society. I want my human rights respected. I am not anxious about society seeing me as useful or not. I want society to protect and provide for me, like it does for women. Women do not want men. You have talked about the unrealistic expectations women want in relationships. Then you talk about Marxist conspiracies to bring down the family unit and strong nations. If women have unrealistic expectations and do not want men, that means a conspiracy theory is not required to explain females feeling they do not need men. Heck, you trash and belittle beta effeminate males yourself. You clearly do not want unattractive low-status men yourself. Did the Marxists brainwash you to feel that way too?
All of these factors create a perfect storm: boys and men checking out of society, no longer interested in relationships with women, or being a father, and they're channeling their frustration and anger in destructive ways like violence, shooting, or escaping in the fantasy world of porn and video games, even sex robots.
Pay attention there. She is not just creating a threat narrative against violent men, she is equating useless men addicted to porn and video games as the same level of problem as violent abusive men. She considers useless passive men who do not pander to women as the same level of problem as violent and abusive men. Of course, female luxury spending is not problematic. It is a man's duty to provide for women like that and pander to their wants and desires. Only women get to be passive and useless after all.
Men are not understanding the severity of the war on masculinity. They keep buying into the feminist lie that women don't need men and men represent the evil patriarchy. But this is dangerous. Because based on our evolutionary psychology of mate selection, deep down in a woman's core, women want to be with men who are strong, aggressive, and masculine. Women do not desire weak, girly men. Women do not realize that they will be the ones most hurt by this when they see the consequences of this in 3 years, less and less real.
Remember, women are the primary victims of men being treated like second-class citizens with less rights. Won't somebody think of the women?
Masculine men, more beta males, and more men boycotting women and marriage in record numbers equals women have a very difficult time finding men to marry and have children with. Women hate me for saying this, but it's the truth. A very large group of men have already begun relinquishing their masculine roles and literally swearing off women and marriage forever. There is a global network and movement called MGTOW, men going their own way, that has been picking up growing by the day. Women need to wake up. Some solutions to help this male crisis: we need to get back to our roots and realize that men and women need each other! Man and woman were designed to have a synergistic and complementary relationship. See chapters 10 and 12 in my book. We cannot have a thriving society without men, or with men who are castrated and demoralized. Men, women and society benefit from men reaching their full potential. Our society needs healthy men and masculinity in order to have strong families, relationships and community.
I am going to end this nonsense here, as the rest of her blog post is just her plugging her book. We need strong men for strong communities is just a non sequitur and another passive-aggressive attack on weak men. Also, it is applying hyper-agency onto men, and blame shifting from women. It is women breaking families and communities up. Women only keep communities intact if they feel they benefit from them, and seek to exclude men as much as they can. Men only keep communities intact if women include them, and men too seek to exclude other men. The right-wing nuclear family fetish fantasy is unworkable, and no amount of scapegoating leftists and Marxists is going to cover this fact up. Women do not want nuclear families, women do not give a shit about kids, women do not really want men. These are facts society is going to have to face and deal with. It is a disgrace, and shocking to me that Honey Badger Radio promotes Deanna. Right-wing nutjobs who call other men beta males, and mock them for not being manly enough should not be given a platform by any men's rights group. There should be no dating coaches promoted by the men's rights movement either. My future videos will now pay more attention to Honey Badger Radio, as I consider them a cancer and the biggest threat to the men's rights movement. Until we can deal with the right-wing reactionary hijackers, there will be no men's rights movement. Right-wing men shamelessly pander to women and sign slavery marriage contracts, then waffle on about leftists and Marxist conspiracies. These right-wingers are not serious, and deep down they know they are not serious. They do not give a fuck about men, but only seem to care about their pointless right-wing crusade. Right-wing politics is anti-male, and can never be reformed. The politics of the anti-male resource hoarder will forever be anti-male. I consider Honey Badger Radio right-wing dog whistlers for the alternative right.